Hello and welcome to Andy Shed Live. This is Series 15, Episode number 3 for Sunday the 4th of February 2024. Hello everybody, welcome to the show. We are here with you live and direct again this Sunday afternoon, evening, whatever you want to call it. And we're here with you for the next, maybe hour or so for a chat and whatnot. We'll be catching up on some of the things that we've been doing around here and stuff, and yeah, basically all sorts. Right, just stopping some of the things that were running there. If you're watching us on YouTube and wondering where the chat is over at odyssey.com. The way to get to the chat is go via our website. If you go to our website, which is here, andyshed.coldpress.net, and type /live after that, or just go to that there, andyshed.coldpress.net, and click on live in the menu. You will see, when you get to the screen, you will see a little thing come up that tells you where to click to get the live chat. So even if you watch it on YouTube, if you open a second window or whatever, or open a window on another device, if you watch it on your smart TV or something and you want to chat on your phone, go to andyshed.coldpress.net /live on your phone, and there's a link to follow that will open the live chat on there for you. Various people are already in the live chat tonight. Looks like Christopher's here, Naget's here, Wesley's here, Keith is here, Dominic is here. GWR King Class, that's Dominic. Yeah, so a good selection of people. I'll just catch up with what everybody is saying at the moment, and I'm also going to go and shut the back door for a minute. I've just realised you didn't see me for a lot of that. Right, I'm just going to go and shut the back door for a minute, because Thor's just come in from his little constitutional. I'll be back in a moment. I've been asked about Thor, by the way, during the week. People say, what sort of dog is he? He's actually a Rottweiler cross German Shepherd, we think. I'm not entirely sure because he's a rescue dog, but we think that's what he is. But he looks more like a Rottie than a German Shepherd. Yeah, and he's just had his tea, so he's settling down now to chill out for a bit while I do the live stream. Right. What is everybody up to in the chat? Gambo says, Gambo, who was here at the end of last week, you may remember at the end of last week we showed you Brendan Kavanagh's video of the St Pancras incident. Brendan is a fellow YouTuber, a much bigger YouTuber than me. But he's been having a bit of trouble with the Chinese government, of all people, after he did a live stream in St Pancras Station, and basically the Communist Party in China and that have been trying to get the live stream taken down. They've been onto YouTube, and China have been doing all kinds of strange things, like I think they've been doing DDoS attacks and stuff like that, and trying to get that video taken down that we showed you last week. So Brendan asked everybody if they would copy his video and repost it. So that's why we showed it you last week. And just a load of absolute nonsense. It was doing nothing wrong. He's a really talented pianist. Really, really, really good guy. Just goes on the public piano in St Pancras Station, plays some boogie woogie tunes. Really good, gets lots of public interaction and that, brightens up everybody's day in St Pancras, and then you get these Chinese idiots complaining about him. So we're sticking up for Brendan, so go Brendan. And he's been on lots of news programmes and that in the last couple of weeks since it happened. I think he'd been on Talk TV and all sorts of things. So yeah, we are sticking up for Brendan and Kevin. So if you look at last week's show, on the end of last week's live stream, you will see Brendan's video on there. So what are people saying in the chat? Everybody's sort of saying hello. Dominic says he's bought a very early 706L complete with a dial 12 in ivory. Recently he's got it, and he got it for £15. That was quite a good deal, Dominic. That wasn't bad at all. Although Dominic sent me a message in the week about this phone and said it's a 1960 phone. That's a very late one to have a dial 12 in it. I would have thought it would be 58, 59. 706 has kind of started to appear. The first prototype ones appeared in 1957. 60 dial 21s were coming in by 1960, so that's a very late one to have a dial 12 on it, but not entirely impossible though. Dominic also said about putting a greeb cord on it. It's too late to have a greeb cord, Dominic. It should definitely have plastic cords on it, not a greeb one. I mean, of course you can fit a greeb one if you really want to, but it would not be correct for that era of phone. If you're wanting it to be correct, it should definitely have a plastic cord, but the curly cord would be a thicker one than the later ones. Bigger curls that are physically bigger cross section to the curled cord. It went from a sort of big curly cord to a sort of smaller curl on the cord, and I don't know when it changed, but certainly early phones have a much bigger curl to the cord. Right, I'm just looking at what everybody else is saying. Dominic says, interestingly, the phone has a typewritten label with the case colour and several codes on it. He says, looks like it's been in there for a while. Was this something the GPO did? I noticed a very similar note with codes on it in Wesley's recent red wall phone. Right, interesting. And he has put up some photos apparently. I'll try and show the photos. He's put some photos in the forum. If I can get into the forum, I should be able, hopefully, to show you the photos. Let me see if I can get in there. I'm trying. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm just trying to sort it out. Right, I'm trying to get those photos up for you. It's going to take a while, I think, but we will hopefully try and get there in a second or two. Internet. It's going so well, isn't it? Right. Right. Right, so there it is. Right, let's see now then if I can actually show it to you guys. Right, so there it is. There is. Here's his phone, and yeah, a very early Diacon, of course, 706, and it looks pretty good. It does look pretty good, that one, I have to say. It looks like it is just the job. Hang on, where am I? There I am. Right, what have we got? Yeah, that's what it says underneath it. 706L PX61. So it's made in 1960. By the looks of that. And there's the cord. Now I can't really tell if that's a later, smaller cord. I think it possibly is. So yeah. And the insides, and you can see the number 12 there on the inside of that, and that denotes the fact that the thing is made out of Diacon. And then here's the inside, and here's the note. And the note is on one of the cords by the looks of that. So I would think that note, which is on, looks like it's on the line cord, but I'm not certain. Looks like it's on the line cord. I would think that note denote is related to the cord rather than the phone, but not 100% certain. So there you go. That is indeed that. Various people on the forum there are saying how good it is, and I cannot deny that. If anybody wants to go to the forum, by the way, here it is. This is the forum, gpotelephones.proboards.com. if you want to have another look at those photos. Right, so there you have it. Right, cool, brilliant stuff. Right, get me back on the camera. There we go. Having a bit of finger trouble tonight, clicking the right buttons. Not easy. So yeah, so that is Dominic's very early phone. Wesley says that thing is the cable manufacturer details. You would have thought. I tend to agree. Dominic said we're sure to retain the label when he restores the phone. He also says my parents' dog Princess is starting to slow down a bit. She can be quite reluctant to go on walks sometimes. Yeah, some dogs are, Dominic. Some young dogs are quite reluctant to go on walks because, as many of you will know, my day job is running a dog walking business. And yeah, some dogs just don't want to go on walks. Greyhounds are particularly reluctant to go for walks most of the time, and it never ceases to amaze me. Keith says it's the same with my Staffy Victor. He's 14 and he's really slowing up. Yeah, U-Move is a good thing. It's a kind of supplement you can give to them for the joints and stuff like that. And it really does work wonders. If you've got an elderly dog and the joints are getting a bit stiff and that, and you've not tried U-Move, and it's spelled Y-U-M-O-V-E, I suggest you try it, because it's really good. Have a word with your vet and see what he says, but generally U-Move is really good. It's advertised on the telly and everything now, and the advert on the telly that says your dog, it says something about your dog will be better on U-Move. If you don't use it, we'll give you your old dog back. You'll get your old dog back, and it's true. It does make a big difference to them. Wesley says, put the photos up of that wall phone if you could, please. Wall phone? Wall phone? What am I missing, Wesley? I miss things, you see. I very cursorily scan through stuff, and I miss things. So tell me what you're on about, because otherwise I do miss stuff. Christopher says I also got my red GPO 746L now, and it works. And I got my own phone. Did you get the photo I sent to the email? I have got it somewhere, Christopher. Yeah. Wesley said, did anyone manage to get a look at the wall phone? Right, the wall phone. Was this a red one, Wesley? Was this was this the one we were on about last week? Yeah. Yes, he says. Yes, it was. It's on the forum. He says, right, I've got to go back into it again. Because I've clicked away from it. Just bear with me 1 second. Right, the red 711. Right, so Wesley's Red 711. This is a very unusual phone. There's been a big debate as to whether Red 711 wall phones actually existed or not, or whether they're just repro things. And it seems they probably did exist, because Wesley's got one that we think is real, that we think is a genuine old one. I will get it up on screen for you in just 1 second, and there it is, and we think that is a genuine one. It's certainly looking right. A good way to look is to look at the curly cord and see if the curly cord looks old. Because if it's a modern case, chances are it would have a modern curly cord on it as well. And that doesn't look modern. It's just got a kind of look to it. It doesn't look too shiny, which modern replicas do. So yeah, it is looking, that is looking very much like it probably is the actual thing. I mean, the cord looks old, which is good. And underneath it says 68.1 GPO batch sampled 8875. It is looking right, isn't it, that? It's interesting, it's got domed feet as well, and I wouldn't have expected it to have domed feet in 1968, so I wonder if they were using them up. I would have thought by 1968 it would have had the feet with the sort of recess in the middle. So that is unusual in itself. More photos of it here. That is what it looks like inside. Everything in there is looking good. It's got the smaller board in it, and again Wesley's got that label on the curly cord in this case, because it's not got a line code fitted to it, on the curly cord, and it does say red, look, RLE. And interestingly, it's got mountings for a dial, but of course no dial. So that is interesting too. Wonder why they did that. Have a closer look at the bells. 2 500 ohm bell coils. GEN is a manufacturer on the bell coils. Again, looks right. Can't see any issues with that. And there's a closer view of the terminals and things, and the small regulator board as well, the early small regulator board. Now, interestingly, on that, it's been partially kind of converted, because 1918, the 4 top terminals, 16, 17, 18, 19, are all together. They're all connected together on that, which tells me it's probably been at least partially converted to plug and socket, but there doesn't appear to be a conversion on the top row of terminals there. So has it had a bad conversion done? Was something non-standard because of how it worked? I don't know. But it's certainly an interesting one, and it certainly looks the age it is purporting to be. So I reckon it's quite good. There's the handset, and again, looks old enough. Yeah, pretty good, I would say that. It's 40 DAE 681. Now, is that a manufacturer code DAE? Because if so, it's different to all the bits of the phone. Because we've added GEN on the bell set, on the bell coils rather. But it is the right year, 681. So that's interesting. But of course, bits can have been replaced. You never can quite tell. But it does look right. If it is a modern case that they've put on, they've found all original red bits to the clock's chiming. Yeah, as I was saying, if that main part of the case of the phone is a modern red case, they've certainly found all the other red bits from a phone that is of the correct age to make it a very good replica. But I don't think they have. I think it's right. My hunch is just that it is right. It looks right to me. These are very good close-up photos, Wesley. I'm very impressed with your camera to do close-up photos like this. You see, in the actual moulding of the case there, that's the inside of the case. That's 7268 that you can see there. I wonder if the last two digits of that relate to the year 68 that the case was made. I don't know what that code is off the top of my hand. The number 17 in the ring, that means it's an ABS case rather than Diacon one, which it would be in 1968. So yeah, but it's looking good. That it is definitely looking good, that, Wesley, I would say. I find a lot of photos. Interesting way of holding the dial blanket. Can't say that I've seen that before, but then I don't see many phones with dial blanks fitted to them. Yeah. What do we think, people? Now that's KKA. Now, is that a different phone? It says final two of these pictures are for reference. These are the ones that Britphone supplied, and ultimately from GPO Spares, who have a website and sell refurbished telephones. They're all marked KKA, which refers to EK Cole of Southend. All of the case and handset parts, with the exception of the blank on the one in question, are marked IGE, which was Witten Moulded Plastics of Birmingham, which was a subsidiary of GEC. The chunky handset cord is correct for the period and being marked RLE, originated from Rippolds of Enfield. I'm quite happy and content with it. So yeah, so this is a Britphone replica, that KKA17. Now, the man at Britphone, the guy that runs Britphone, who is another Andy, I've actually been to see him on a couple of occasions, because he's interestingly in a very similar situation to me, in that he makes radio shows and that, as well as doing stuff with old telephones. And he assures me that his replica cases are made using original moulds. So he's obviously got the moulds from KKA, from that manufacturer. So I'm guessing that all of his will have KKA on. So that is a Britphone made. Well, it's kind of original because it's the original moulds, but it's a modern pull from an original mould. So it's not an original age phone. It's a modern part made in an old mould. Is the best way to describe it, really. So it's as near to the original as you can get. And here is a blue one, and again KKA 17 inside it. And of course they never in the early days made blue wall phones. That's just a thing that Britphone do. You know, they make whatever colour they fancy making, because some people do want a phone just to go on the wall in their house, and they do want one in a funky colour that was never made originally. So provided nobody's trying to pass it off as an original phone, then I don't see any problem with it. But yeah, that shows you Britphone's phones by comparison. And also on the forum is an interesting video showing the manufacturers. And I think Bertie might have already seen this. So if you get on the forum, you can watch that video on the forum. So cool. Right, so I think having seen that, Wesley, I think we can safely say your phone there is an original. So red ones did actually exist. Apparently they were for putting in places like fire stations. So possibly incoming only, which might be why it's not got a dial on. Did anybody work in a fire station, or does anybody know anybody who worked in a fire station in the 60s and 70s? Did they have red wall phones on the wall? I honestly don't know. I mean, as a kid in the 1970s, I used to very often peer through the glass in the doors of fire stations, but I would tend to be looking at the fire engines, not at the telephones. So I honestly can't really say I ever saw one. Yeah, somebody who works in a fire station will probably know. So if anybody knows anybody who worked in a fire station in the 60s, 70s, and possibly into the 80s, ask them, please. Ask them if they remember a red phone on the wall. And yeah, we might get to the bottom of it. But if there's one out there, then there may be others. So next time I see a red wall phone, I won't be so quick to dismiss it. Right. Right, what are people saying about it in the chat? It says BICC is to make a British insulated calendars cable. Christopher says, I've got a photo of my red 746 on the forum too. I've shut it again now. I suppose for wall phones, the latest slip-resistant type feed were less important, as it was fixed to the wall anyway, says Dominic. Perhaps domed feet spares were diverted to the wall phones. That's an interesting idea. Yeah, that is possibly the case. Were these phones actually supplied by the GPO though? This is the question. They were supplied to fire stations. Are they actually a GPO phone, or were they supplied by somebody like GEC directly, made using some parts with GPO stamps on, perhaps? Because we have found that before, where privately supplied phones to factories and things have still got parts inside them stamped GPO, because the phone was just taken off a production line at a factory that was making phones for GPO and sold privately. Dominic says, perhaps red wall phones are rare now because they weren't publicly issued and most were destroyed maybe. Say for example fire stations use them. How many fire station phones found their way into private collections? Good point, yeah. Good point. Where it says, Andy at Britphone doesn't manufacture them. They're bought in from GPO spares. That's not what he told me. He told me there's a guy, and this guy may be GPO spares actually, I don't know, but he said there's an old guy who's got an injection moulding machine and he just makes a few cases every now and again for Andy to sell at Britphone. So that's where I'm told he gets his cases from. At least some of them, but maybe some of them are sourced from other places. I will ask next time I see him. I have got to go and see him again sometime soon, so I will ask that question, where they come from and stuff, because I'm interested to know myself. Yeah, it's all interesting stuff. It really is. Dominic says, one thing I've learnt about old telephones, and that is there's no hard and fast rules. Very true, Dominic. Very true. There were supposed to be hard and fast rules, but they don't seem to have been adhered to. And also, of course, it's very difficult now because all the bits off everything pretty much fit on everything else. Over the years now, things have got mixed up and stuff, so it's very hard to know what's what, and very hard to go back and work it out, unless you can find a phone that you know has been stuck on somebody's wall for the last 40 years and it's always been there. You know, it's very hard to know if a phone is genuinely all original, because parts can have been changed 20 years ago and those parts look old now that were put on 20 years ago, so it's very hard to tell. It is very hard to tell. But yeah, that does look interesting. Right, I'm going to try and find Christopher's red phone. Right, I think I've got it in an email somewhere, so let's have a little look. Yeah, here it is. This is it. This is his red 746L. It's all original and not messed with. Wired up the old-fashioned way, he says. Got some photos of it, right. we'll have a look. Right, so I've got to do this again. And here it is. There you go. So this is Christopher's new 746, and it's original, not messed with, it says, and again, it looks right to me. Rare to find 746s with the alphanumeric bezel on, but they did happen. And this one dates from 1968, which is within the period when it happened, and all looks very good. And you can see it's all wired in the old-fashioned way, so terminals 16 and 17 are wired together, and 18 and 19 are linked together, but crucially 17 and 18 are not linked together. So that is done the old-fashioned way, but he has got a 3.3k resistor in it by the looks of things. Why have you got that in there, Christopher, if you wired it up the old way? Not entirely sure. But yeah, all looks good, including the original connection box there. So yeah, all pretty good, that I would say. So yeah, people have been buying stuff, you know, something, and I've not bought any for a while now. Yeah, not acquired anything for quite a while. You've all sort of overtaken me, but the thing is, basically, I'm running out of space. Really running out of space quite quickly now. But yeah, and the big news this week is we've got another player piano coming. Bought for 99p on eBay. This brings the player piano collection to 4 instruments. It will be arriving on Friday. So hopefully photos and that of it on next week's show. But it's an interesting one because we know a history of it. It was in a pub near Belper, which is quite near to Dominic. It was in a pub in a little village near Belper for many years, until about 1980, when the pub was changed hands and was refurbished, and at that point somebody bought it from the pub, or was given it or something. It's been in their house since 1980. Their son has now taken over the house because his parents have passed away, I believe, and he's having the house all sort of altered and, you know, refurbished and that, and he said it's time for the player piano to find a new home. And basically, because it's relatively close to me, I've agreed to take it on and give it its next home for the next however many years. So thanks to Tim for agreeing to let us have it for the sum of 99p, and we will be getting it going again. It kind of tries to play at the moment. I have tried to play it. It kind of tries to play, but it's all very gummed up inside. It's all very dirty inside. You can imagine it's been sat in a pub for most of its life. So that, you know, and pubs used to be very dirty, smoky places, didn't they, and stuff. And it shows on the inside of this player piano. So I'll show you more about it when it gets here. But yeah, that's an interesting one. So that's kind of diverted me away from the telephones a bit just recently. So that's my excuse anyway. Yeah. So what are people up to in the chat? Yeah, Dominic says near Belp, you say. Interesting. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's coming from near Belper, and the piano mover who's moving it actually comes from Wirksworth, so that's handy because those two places are almost next door to each other. Christopher says his phone is 746. He says he thinks the phone was made in 1967 and finished in 1968. He says, and he's got it up and running and in service on his phone line too. So that is excellent. Wesley says, referring to the player pianos, he says you're going to have to get some chimps and PG tips to get them all shifted. Yeah, either that or Laurel and Hardy. Yeah, you want it, I'll play it. You have to have been around in the 70s to understand that joke. Christian says the 3.3k resistor is in the phone because of his phone line. And that's, I'm guessing, it's to get the REN value down on it. Probably so you can plug more than one phone into the line, I would say. Dominic says his red phone is also from AEG, made in 1968. They must have made a lot of red ones in 1968, AEG. Yeah. All interesting stuff. Dominic says, don't carry it up some stairs, referring to the player piano. It has got to go up some stairs, but it's not actually going upstairs, it's going up in a lift. It has actually got to go onto the second floor, Dominic, as you know, because you've been there. So, and they do fit in the lift, just. So that will be an interesting manoeuvre, I would say. It's always an interesting manoeuvre, that. Dominic says that's a good conversion technique you got there, Christopher, using the junction boxes. Mine's hooked up onto my phone line at the moment too. Excellent. Yeah. If you've got the junction boxes, it's brilliant. Yeah, I tend to leave the junction box on. If I've got a line cord that's got a junction box on the end, I tend to put a new little bit of cord with a plug on the other end of the junction box, so you've still got the original cord and junction box. Dominic says, I remember now, to you, to me, just like the Chuckle Brothers. Yeah, just like them. I actually met the Chuckle Brothers once. When they came to turn the Christmas lights on at Crystal Peak Shopping Centre, I went and interviewed them for the radio. Cool. So I think I've caught up with what folks are saying there in the chat, and I think I've caught up with it all. That's rather good, isn't it? Like I say, if you want to join the chat, the chat is over at Odyssey. If you're watching this on YouTube, the way to find it is go to our website and click on the thing that says live, and then you will find a link to the chat. It tells you all about the chat. It says click here and a chat window will open. So go to andyshed.corepress.net/live, and you'll find a link to the chat there. If you're watching on YouTube on your telly or something and you want to chat on your phone or your tablet, that's the way to do it. Get on your phone or your tablet and go to that web address there. And join us in the chat if indeed you are watching live. If you're not watching live, obviously don't, because we'll all have gone, probably be asleep or something. Right, so yes, what else have I got to tell you about this week? Not a lot really. Not a lot has arrived this week. I've just got the same things sat around that I've had sat around for ages and ages and ages. And stuff, because I really do need to get my act together and get some things done. The last thing that did arrive was a few dial parts and that. I don't think you've seen these actually. Yeah, these arrived. Did I show you these last week? You know, I honestly cannot remember. My memory is terrible. Can't remember if I showed you these last week or not, but here they are anyway. So these are all bits of dial, and there's some interesting bits in here as well. If I can open the bag. So we have got a complete dial. It's one of those late nasty plastic dials, I think, that came after the dial 21. The dial 54A. If you can see that there. Dial 54A. But I've got another heap of finger wheel. Another heap of these things that hold the bezels on, that hold the original bezels on. I've got loads of these metal rings for some reason. I'd already got a ton, and I've got a ton more now. I don't know why I've got so many of those, and yet not the bezels to go with them. But the interesting bits that have come in this batch, and maybe the reason I bought it, is these. And what you may recognise these as, this is the middle bit out of an original coloured finger wheel. So if you imagine that was a coloured finger wheel from the 1960s, this bit kind of screwed into the middle, into there, so you could pop the the dial opal off the front. So got a load of these, not fitted to anything. I think I've got about 10. But my thought is, if ever I get to the stage where I'm having to 3D print finger wheels, because we can't get the originals, this might be the answer to finishing those dials off. And I've got an idea in my head one day when I get some time to try and make one of those spoked dials that they tried as a prototype but never went on with, where rather than it having holes in the finger wheel, it's just a centre bit and then spokes, and then there's an outer ring on the other part of the dial, so your finger just pushes a spoke around rather than going in a hole. I've got an idea to make a reproduction one of those, because it was a thing that was tried in the UK but not gone ahead with. I think Miguet's got a phone from Europe somewhere that's got one of those dials where they did actually use them in production, but they didn't use them in the UK, so I'm going to perhaps make a UK version with the 3D printer one of these days and use these bits on it. As you can see in the bag there, I've got quite a few of them. So yeah, those are the bits and pieces that arrived. Relatively recent arrival, but that's the last things that arrived basically, because I've been doing other stuff, to be honest with you. I've been mending old clocks, like the one you can hear ticking away up there somewhere. There it is, look, just in the corner of the shop. So I've been mending clocks and things just recently, getting bits for them. Also starting to work on boats as well. The Dawnecraft boat is getting a new deck put in it at the back at the moment. I will have to shoot some video of that, and maybe we'll have some video of that on next week. Stuff. So yeah, we've got all kinds of things to do, and all sorts of magical stuff. Jury is still out, by the way, on what these magical pliers were originally for. I'm told these are a GPO tool. What were they actually for? I know what I used them for. I used them for adjusting the governor weights in dials. I find they're very good for that. But what were they originally for? Is that what they were originally intended for? Or were they intended for something else? I'd be interested to know. I've never seen another pair of these anywhere. So yeah, let me know what they're for, if you've got any idea what the original use for was for those. Right, let's go back to the chat, see what people are up to. Christopher says, I wired up my red 746 the old-fashioned way due to Australia RJ11 not having a ring capacitor. Oh, cool. Miguel says, these pliers were used for adjusting relay spring sets. Oh, so very similar to what I'm actually using them for then, to adjust the governor in a dial. Very similar idea. Yeah, I thought that was what they'd work for. So yeah, but actually relay, you know, the clicky bit of a relay goes backwards and forwards for adjusting those apparently. Yeah, interesting. Very good. I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, so that is about it. That's about all I can tell you really about that. Like I say, nothing else has arrived. I have got a few phones here that I'm working on. I've got a blue 706 down here that's all broken at the front of the case. That the case needs rebuilding. That I showed you the other week. I've also got an American phone here. That needs looking at, made by GTE. This is actually a relatively modern one. When you look at it underneath, look at the plastic under there. It's a very modern sort of base on it. But yeah, it is actually a proper dial phone. It does the proper thing when you dial. Well, you can't see. You didn't see that, did you? There you go. But yeah, I do like my American phones. So yeah, I've got a few American ones kicking about. So I've got quite a few of them when I look at it all. And yeah, there's some long-term projects on the go, including an American 3-slot payphone that's been an absolute nightmare because I bought it, paid quite a lot of money for it, got it, and it had got no insides inside it. That we showed quite a while ago actually on the channel, and that is still an ongoing project. So if anybody's got the innards for an American 3-slot payphone, I would love to hear from you. Right, I believe that is probably almost it for this week. Dominic says, I was in Nottingham today to take a look at the remains of the Great Northern Station and warehouses at London Road. Oh. Yeah, there is a bit of it left, I believe. It says there's also some clues of the high-level route to Victoria, but sadly a really ugly modern art gallery has been plonked on top of Weekday Cross Tunnel. Yeah, I think they were building that last time I was there. I don't go there very often, but I think they were building that last time I was there. Yeah. Right, that is about it, I believe, for this week. We've kind of run the gamut of all sorts of things tonight, haven't we? We'll be back on next week, all being well. I don't think there's anything major happening next week, so we should be back on at 6:30 again next week. Remember, as always, that you can find out more about what we do and watch some back episodes on the website, andyshed.colepress.net, and you can see those photos that I showed earlier, view them at your leisure on the forum, which is gpotelephones.proboards.com. And finally, if you want to support what we do here, from just £1 a month, you can donate at Patreon. That is www.patreon.com/AndysShed. A big thanks to all the people who are patrons already. You know who you are. Massive, massive thank you. It really does help. It doesn't sound like much, £1 a month, but it does mount up, and it does enable us to do things, and it does enable us to save more of this historic equipment and that, these old phones and things that might otherwise not have got saved. So you're doing your bit for conservation of our collective past. Right, that is about as far as we go for today. A big thanks to everybody who's taken part in the old chat there once again. I'll just go back to it before we go. Dominic says, thanks, so I said, very interesting discussion on red wall phones. See everyone in a week. Yeah, it was. The red wall phone thing, I'm indebted to Wesley for finding that and doing the research on it, because I'd almost convinced myself they didn't exist. But Wesley's come up with plenty of evidence there to show that they did. So yeah, everybody's going to be looking for red wall phones now this week, aren't they? I know I certainly am when we get off here tonight. But that is it from me for now. We will see you back here same time, same place next week. Have a fantastic week ahead, everybody, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye for now.